Hmm. My camera isn't working. That's okay. Nobody wants to look at me anyway. It's cool. It's cool. All right. Well, camera's not working, so I guess I'm going to share a screen with you guys. Let people pop on here for the 12 days of Nicsmas. Josh Green, Sonia, Adam. Just an overview today. Mostly because I wanted to start it on a Monday, nice and clean start, and that would actually make 13 days. Been deep diving into some stuff. I'm gonna have a big reveal for you. Hey Sonia, how you doing? Big reveal for you. May not be world changing, but there's gonna cause a lot of questions. It's a massive shift in positioning, focus, and all that stuff. But there's gonna be a lot of background, a lot of context, all that stuff. I have no idea. Hold on, let me stop my video and start it again. See if yeah, looks like my video is not going to work. Such is life. All right, we're a minute in. Let's do this. Adam, Darren, Josh, Laurel, Sonia, Zach. What's up, guys? There were 85 total people that I let in. I deleted some people because I know that they just don't do anything. They just creep. All right, here we are. Welcome. This is my fancy Google document I made for you guys. The amount of information that I needed to sort to put this together to be useful was frankly just way too much for me to put into like a format that made sense, like a slideshow webinar format. So you get a Google Doc. Okay, welcome to the 12 days of Nicsmas. I did this last year. I actually wanted to do the 12 days of Christmas, a holiday theme, and I got busy and I forgot and I was 2 days late. Fortunately, my birthday is 3 days after Christmas. So I just made it the 12 days of Nicsmas. It just so happens that my name kind of works there. Okay. Over the next 12 days, some are going to be live like this. Anything that is live will be at 10 a.m. Okay, so if you're not sure, just block it off. The reason I do some live and some not is some is pre-recorded. Some of it requires building things. I don't want to build things live. I want to record the building of things because it might take me 6 or 7 hours to build and only 12 minutes to watch. And I have calls. I have some standing calls right at this time that go over 12 days of Nicsmas. So I'm super excited to share everything that has worked really, really well for me over the last year. Some huge revelations, big shifts. As you know, I have 42 private clients. Every single private client is in a different industry. And the reason I do that, and the reason that my calendar looks like it does, which is absolutely obliterated sometimes, it's not mandatory fulfillment. It's the fact that I'm trying to take these 42 people in 42 different industries to do 42 things and find the commonalities, find the language, find things that might have cross-disciplinary benefits, all that fun stuff. And I'm going to share some of that with you. And it all comes back to the fundamentals. When you work with people in different industries, it comes back to the fundamentals. Okay. And so every day I'm going to share a lesson, an insight, a deliverable, and a deliverable. So every day, except for maybe today, I'll wait and find out. I'm going to give you something. Okay. Just for hanging out, just for watching, I am give you something of high value. Hopefully it's high perceived value. Hopefully you perceive it as being very valuable. It does. There'll always be a big dollar amount attached, and it's always what we sold it for. But if you don't perceive it as valuable, then what's the point? Okay. And immediately actionable. I'm going to talk a little bit about why 12 Days of Nicsmas exists. I do Inception marketing. Okay. Which means I don't run Facebook ads telling you that you don't have to run Facebook ads. There's a huge disconnect. I actually do the things that I teach to build the belief that they work, because if you buy from me, that is proof that the things worked, right? It's called Inception marketing. So I get retention referrals and raving fans to buy my program called Retention Referrals and Raving Fans. It's Inception marketing. I'm going to tell you why that's so important, because we have now built partnerships and been in front of Bank of New York, BNY. Why is BNY want anything to do with me. I don't know. We're looking at Microsoft. We're looking at Amazon. Inception marketing. That's the key right there. I'm going to teach you a lot about that. Not today, but moving forward. Inception marketing. How do we, all this is, Inception marketing is eliminate inconsistencies. Don't write a blog article about how it's stupid to write blog articles, right? That's a disconnect. Sophisticated buyers don't like that. Most of this stuff I've never shared publicly. I've maybe shared it privately with my private clients one-on-one, but I'll be sharing the internal examples, the templates, the swipe files, everything. Okay? So you're going to want to show up every day. You want to take notes. I will give you the stuff, but again, I want you to take action. I'll talk about that in a minute. Much of what I'm doing is a zig. Okay, zig while everybody zags. Everybody says that. The fact that everybody says that is proof that not everybody is zigging while everybody is zagging. The very fact that everybody is saying the same thing to be different, that is not Inception marketing. Okay, so it's a lot of anti-internet marketing stuff. And on day one tomorrow, you'll find out why. I have a lot of screenshots, a lot of proof, a lot of, I just sold a $65,000 day, $65,000 to spend a day with me. Okay. And it's because of the extreme zig, the anti-internet marketing stuff. Okay. Now that might not be, I know Laurel's on here. Laurel, you can't run Facebook. Like you can't tell people not to run Facebook ads because it's what you do. That's fine. You don't copy me. Never copy me. Lean into you. Lean into you with Inception marketing. That's amazing. Thank you. You can drop chats. I'll just have a conversation with you as you chat about stuff. So understand, this is where I want to start. Every field, and I approach things like an academic. I'm not an academic. So if you ask me what my degree is in, I did not finish it. But my closest friends, my partners, they are. My partner in Mastery Mode is a doctor. My partner in RD is a PhD in metabolic chemistry, so on and so forth. Dan Nicholson is a partner in Nth Degree Network. He's a CPA, incredibly intelligent. So I approach things like an academic. And every field has a set of assumptions that simplify a very complex reality, and they have to, right? The only way to cope with all of the options out there, right, is to simplify a reality to fit this field. Totally normal, nothing wrong with it. The problem is, if you're a marketer, if you've been in a marketing program, or even if you've been in, if you go into an economics program in college or whatever, right, in university, the paradigm that you're adopting has all of these assumptions built in. But what you don't have is the original understanding, oftentimes. Where do these assumptions come from? Why were they made? Are they appropriate? Okay. So when you're following this paradigm, okay, you're going to have a set of blinders that prevent you from seeing certain aspects of reality. I see this. The reason I bring this up is I see this when people come in and work on their business. They're operating off a paradigm, Facebook ad to webinar to sales call, or direct mail, or content marketing, right? They've been sold this theory, this paradigm, and they have a set of blinders on that are preventing them from seeing certain aspects of reality. Let me give you an example real quick. Okay. Example, pricing dissonance, where people say, I can't get any clients. It's so frustrating. And I say, well, why don't you help somebody for free? Or why don't you offer a discount? And say, well, I know what I'm worth. Okay. This whole indoctrination into charge what you're worth, essentially has you ignoring the reality that nobody else thinks you're worth that, and you can't get the business, right? So people are they've adopted these assumptions, sales calls, charge what you're worth, blah, 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 blah. This is how you sell, that they become blind to the reality that it's not working, or it's inefficient, or the math doesn't add up. Okay. Really, really important. And this is just a training prejudice. It's a bias. Okay. The more you're trained to do a specific thing, the more you are trained in the incapacity to do another, right? All this stuff you can Google. I'm not making any of it up. I'm not taking credit for it. It's not my intellectual property. I'm just trying to make it a little more palatable. So if we say this another way, the more we know how to do something, right? If any of you have ever had a webinar that works, or maybe you used to do trading shows or conventions, or write blogs, or have a newsletter, the better you got at it, the more difficult it becomes how to learn how to do it differently. So if your acquisition came 100% from Facebook ads, and then Facebook breaks, it's extremely difficult to learn how to acquire clients differently, right? And if you've ever tried, and I'm sorry, high ticket people, I'm not throwing stones at you personally, just generally. If you ever tried to sell a high ticket person into running a real business, it's very, very difficult because they've learned how to acquire clients, which means by and large, they are blind to the people that don't adopt. Okay, high ticket salespeople are very much numbers game, lead, make a sales call. If they don't buy, that's fine, move on. And what they do is they're blind to the attrition. They're blind to the non-adopters is what they're called in an academic sense, the non-adopters. So just be aware you have blind spots. If you're really, really good at the thing, you have blind spots. Over the next 12 days, I am going to expose those blind spots and give you the tools to build the systems around them or identify them and continue to grow your business. The paradigm you adopted is probably not fundamental in nature. Okay, that's the problem is Facebook ad to webinar to phone call is tactical. It is not fundamental by nature. Okay, that's a top-down thing. A fundamental would be, okay, look, to acquire clients, we need to, there's actually 5 stages, and I'll talk about those. There's 5 stages. We need to invert the process and figure out how to get them through each stage. Webinar, phone call, or webinar app phone call is one of the ways to do that. But if that's the paradigm you live in, you're actually missing the fundamental part. So you cannot reason through other ways to do it. Okay. So how can you tell if you are operating from a paradigm that is not fundamental in nature? The pro-innovation bias is different. If you is present, sorry. If you believe that everybody would benefit from having your thing, okay, that's a pro-innovation bias. That is incorrect. It also means you are not reasoning from the ground up. You don't have a fundamental paradigm through which you're operating. It's tough for some people, but if you think everybody should buy what you have, or every business owner should buy this, you have a pro-innovation bias. You have a bias towards people should adopt my idea. Okay, that is not a ground-up way of thinking. You really have to understand what is called the fusion of innovations, which I'm actually going to talk about later. The paradigm you're operating from is not platform agnostic. So if somebody says, "Hey, I really my hair, I do hair, and I just opened a salon," and you immediately think of a platform. Oh, we got to get that on Google. We got to get that on Facebook. Are you using LinkedIn? You're not operating from a set of fundamentals. The paradigm is very top down. Okay. If you recognize that, drop a comment. Let me know. You can just send it just straight to me so nobody else sees it. And you have a heavy focus on adoption. Okay. This is like the academic, in the academic sense, we're looking at diffusion of innovations. A heavy focus on adoption means sales. You have a very, very heavy focus on sales and a low level of focus on non-adoption, rejection. There's actually another one. Reinvention. Okay, so if you're not focused on, hey, what about the people that didn't buy? Why aren't they buying? Is there a base knowledge disconnect? Maybe I'm marketing to these people, but the message I'm bringing to them is not congruent with their religious beliefs, right? That's a non-adoption or a rejection focus. Okay, reinvention would be like, hey, look, I sold this thing, and they're not following instructions. Maybe they found a more efficacious way to use this thing. Right? If we're not focused on adoption, rejection, and reinvention, then we are the paradigm we're operating from is not one that is terribly fundamental, right? So you think everybody should buy your stuff the way you're presenting it. If you ignore the people that reject your stuff and just decide to call them haters, they're haters, and you're not focused on the way people are using your stuff because maybe they found a better way to use it for their situation than you had intended. That happens all the time. Right? That is how you know. And if that is you, you should probably pay attention. If you already do all these things, just hang along and contribute because you're awesome. And I just want you around. All right. So guess what? It's almost my birthday, so I want to help you out. Over the next 12 days, we're going to dive in to why marketing works until it doesn't. Really easy to get marketing to work in the beginning. And there is a process called diffusion of innovations. I have research and studies all the way back to like 1642, I think. I have them all noted out. Why marketing works until it doesn't. Really, really important, because you can start to identify exactly when to shift your marketing, when to shift your messages, and when to shift your platforms and your methods. Okay, why people don't buy your stuff, even if it's awesome stuff. Happens all the time. Talk about increasing. I'm going to teach you how to look at the rate of adoption. It is not synonymous with scale. And there's a component of that, like it's kind of like you don't have a weight loss problem. Like nobody has a weight loss problem. We all know how to lose weight. What most people don't know how to do is keep it off, right? We actually have a weight maintenance problem. We don't have a problem achieving the goal. We have a problem maintaining it. And we're going to talk about how watching the rate of adoption is a lot different than maintaining scale. And basically what that means is you can't have a record month every single month for the rest of your life, or even somewhat consistently, if a record month requires new acquisition. You cannot acquire more new clients than you did last month consistently, because there's market share. And when you got over half the market, your rate of adoption will go down. However, if you keep them forever, your scale continues to increase. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you all the tools you need to make that happen. It's going to be pretty awesome. So I'll give you all those tools. Don't worry. This is just an overview. I want you to know what's coming. Why even the most efficient business owners, all those people out there talking about being efficient and numbers-based, are very top-down. They are not inverting the process. I'm going to teach you how to invert the process and give you the tools to eliminate waste. Most people are creating waste. They're maximizing before they optimize, and we're going to eliminate that. And why a good service doesn't need any free strategy sessions or high-pressure sales. I don't do free strategy sessions. I don't do high-pressure sales. I have moved most of my clients away from them because if you're good at what you do, you don't have to. I'm going to give you a full process for that. The reality is there's 8 stages of the customer journey. I detailed that out in the R3 class, which I'm going to reteach. And you're going to have access to that potentially. Digging a little deeper, during the 8 stages of the customer journey, there are 5 decisions that need to be made. This goes back to diffusion of innovations. It goes back to why some farmers adopt a certain kind of corn, why some villages still don't boil their water even though they keep getting sick, stuff like that. There's 5 decisions that people have to make in order to fully adopt your process, your product, your community. I'm going to show you the 6 ways to communicate at each step and why the psychology is different. I'm even going to help you write some of those if you want help. Hey, how do I write this email? How do I make this video? How do I script this out? What kind of text do I send here? And there's one more concept here. 2 plow horses is better than 1. A lot of you have maybe you sent an email, then you made a Facebook post, and then 2 days later you sent a video. You basically took 3 horses, hooked them up to 3 separate plows, and set them free, right? What we want to do is we want to take 3 plow horses, hook them up to 1 plow, and have them all work on the same thing. So we have to integrate our campaigns. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. Very, very important. Because if somebody is at stage 3 in this journey, they have to make a decision, and we show them messages. Well, they get a message that moves them closer to the decision, but then they get a message that is designated for the wrong stage, and they get confused, and you don't want to confuse people. So we're going to talk about that. Optimizing for change behavior. And if Laurel, if you're still here, this is a really, really powerful thing because I will use you as an example. Optimizing for change behavior is different than optimizing for immediate profits. This matters a lot. This matters a ton. This is why high-ticket people fail. They succeed until they fail. There's a big difference between optimizing for change behavior. I want the mass market to change its behavior versus I want the mass market to give me money. Now, what this is, I'll just tell you right now, 12 Days of Nicsmas, it is kind of a combination. And I'll explain that at the end, how it's a combination. But optimizing for change behavior is this free 12 days. It's free R3 class. I sold the R3 class for about 1/10 of market value, 1/10 of what people offered me for it, because I wanted to get more people in, modify the way that they think and behave so that I created more better clients for me later on. That's the long game. So if you want to optimize, if you want to play the long game, you cannot also play the short game. So as we go through these processes, we have to decide, am I optimizing for change behavior or am I optimizing for immediate profits? The more often you optimize for change behavior, the bigger pool of buyers you're creating for yourself later. So you can see where a high-ticket webinar kind of always has a dead end. It always has a pretty hard ceiling. There's nothing wrong with it. Laurel, for example, does a great job. $7 a month membership changes the way people think, changes the way they behave. It would make a lot of sense for her to run a webinar for a high-ticket offer to those people. It would make a lot of sense for me to make a high-ticket offer after teaching 12 Days of Nicsmas, right? Because if you take what I say and you think about it and you action it, there's a process of, like and trust me, hopefully. But if I do my job and give you actionable things and you implement them and get a positive return, you also begin to trust yourself. A lot of times people don't buy because they don't trust themselves. And I'm going to dig in how to get over that. Okay? There's a process, again, the 5-step process right here. So this is going to be a very, very dense 12 days. Today's the easy day. Individual blame versus system blame. So if you think your customers are poor and you get frustrated that they buy stuff, but they're not buying your stuff, like they said they're poor, but they just bought a vacation. So like, fuck that person. You're wrong. You are playing the wrong game. You're playing an individual game. The reality is your system is broken somewhere. Okay. If you think it's hard to find good employees and you're blaming your employees for everything, it's hard to find good people, you're operating from a place of individual blame, right? It's not hard to find good employees. We're like 5 for 5 with our last 5 employees because we've taken system blame. We have said, instead of saying, oh, it's all those drivers' faults for driving drunk and not wearing seatbelts and texting while they're driving, right? What we've done is we made seatbelts a requirement. We've made driving drunk illegal. We made roads safer. We put up guardrails. And as soon as we made the system for driving safer, deaths went down significantly. Okay, same with smoking. As soon as you make smoking illegal, there's system things that need to happen that we're ignoring. I am going to give you the full process for identifying the critical control point in the system, optimizing it, fixing it, putting the systems, processes, feedback loops in place, and then identifying the next one. That'll be fun. Most importantly, nobody wins a race they don't want to be in. So as you're going through this, I would implore you, I'm going to give you examples of stuff I'm doing. I'm going to give you examples of stuff my clients are doing. I already told you I'm going to give you examples of what Laurel's doing. Don't copy them. Not because I don't want you to steal my stuff. You can have all my stuff. I'm going to give it to you anyway, assuming that you're sticking around. But nobody wins a race they don't want to be in. Even if you run my race better than me, it's still my race. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to build a life by design, define and achieve success by your definition. Okay, we're going to talk a lot about your priorities. We're talking a lot about, or I'm going to implore you to think about what does success mean to you in terms of your life? Because the reality is nobody does this. Because if you say success to me is retiring my wife, working 20 hours a week, and attending all of my son's baseball games, you've also defined failure. Think about that. And so once you've done that, you can't hide behind, ooh, well, I did 8 figures. Well, I bought 7 businesses. Well, I fed, 43 families because I have that many employees. You can't hide behind all of those trappings of success, because until you've retired your wife, work 20 hours a week, and attend all your son's baseball games, you're not really there yet. Yeah, so we really have to identify what we're doing so that every decision we make is weighed up against those bumpers. Okay. And what I have here, I'll give you this little worksheet. I would implore you to write out your perfect day from wake up to bedtime. And I know I am successful when. Write that out. I know I am successful when. Identify 3 priorities. 3 priorities as specific as possible. I know I'm successful when I don't have to work weekends, when my husband can quit his job, when whatever. 3 outcomes. Hey, and then the second one is identify the things you refuse to do from now on. Because I'm going to give you all these tactics, all these tricks, all these tips. And you know what? If one of the things is I refuse to work on Saturdays, and something I give you tactically is like, hey, every Saturday do this, you need to say, no, I'm not doing that because it is on my non-negotiable list. Okay, so I'll give you this. This is my book, Bumpers. I'll give you a copy because you're in here. And I would implore you to write down from now on, I refuse to. Because I'm going to give you a lot of stuff. It's going to be overwhelming. And without these bumpers up, you're just going to end up doing a bunch of stuff that may or may not work. Okay, so I know I'm successful when, and establish your non-negotiables. Let me know if that makes sense. Nadeem, what's up? Let me know if that makes sense. Drop in the comments. I'm breezing through this real quick. I'll make sure you get a copy of Bumpers because you're here. So identify makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Like I said, I want to give you a lot of stuff. And this is a process. It's a process of, like, honestly, this is the question we have to ask. What's the point? I know you can make more money. I know you can get more famous. I know you can get more Instagram likes. I know you can get 100 more clients, but what's the point? I thought you wanted to go to your son's baseball game, right? This is the kind of stuff that we're going to work through because I actually want to spend the next 12 days giving you things that will benefit your life. I'm going to give you things that will make you more money than you ever thought possible with less effort. But if we don't have this in mind at all times, it's a war of attrition. Okay, we don't want to fight a war of attrition. Looking forward to challenging my paradigm. Good, because I'm going to punch your paradigm in the face. So over the next 12 days, I'm going to give you a obnoxious amount of free stuff. I'm going to talk you through it like this. We're going to do Q&A if there's time. This is the only thing that's not immediately actionable outside of, I really do want you to go do this exercise in priorities and exercise in non-negotiable and bumpers. It's really, really important. But here's why I want to give you an obnoxious amount of free stuff. Blank page, no reason why. It's a bribe. I am bribing you. So again, this is part of Inception marketing. And again, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing as I'm doing it because that's Inception marketing. Okay. It's a bribe. As I introduce these concepts, the reality remains the same that 99% of business, let me just to remove ambiguity here. 99% of business ownership is preference-based. Preference-based, meaning there is not a right or wrong answer. Should you hire an employee? Should you scale your business? Should you take a nap? It depends on everything right here. Okay, so nobody can tell you this is the right way to do something. You own a business. You are in business for yourself, right? This is the big thing that people miss is they start running everybody else's race. They get in business for themselves and then let everybody else dictate. Where do you see people start from? Already 7-figure business or just starting? Where do I like to see people start from? That's a tough question. Preference-based. It depends on what they're asking me to do. I love people starting from zero because they could craft everything by design. The problem is there's no evidence, right? If you've already done 7 figures, there's a lot of evidence. There's evidence of, which is data, existing data. So it really depends. I personally like going into a 7 or 8 figure business because I could walk into a 7 figure business and generate $200,000 in a couple hours. So it makes me feel better. It makes me feel more valuable. You can't walk into a startup, well, maybe a startup that's funded, but you can't walk into a bootstrapped solopreneurship with 2 clients to generate a huge income. So I get more personal enjoyment out of working with startups, people that are just starting. It's easier for me to charge what I charge and justify it and have a good reputation if I'm working with people that are already at 7 figures or over. Really about $300,000 a year. About 25 grand a month is where I can pay for my time a million times over. And so what I love doing more than anything is sit with people like you, everybody on this call. Again, whether you're just starting or whether you're doing a 7-figure business. I've had an 8-figure business, 9-figure business. Jeff is sitting at his company sitting at 2.2 billion with a B. He comes in every Saturday. I love people that are service providers that are looking to put something out into the world and looking to make their way and identify your unique disposition, build a strong marketing and operating plan around it so that every move you make is moving you one step closer to your life goal. So full disclosure, the whole reason I'm doing this is put a whole bunch of goodwill out there, whole bunch of goodwill with the intention of bribing four of you. Okay. So I got 85 people total, I think, to bribe 4 of you to come spend a day with me in my office to build your business with you. Right. And I'll tell you right now, I just got somebody to pay $65,000, but that was a custom. That's a little bit of, it's $9,800 for a day. I was going to do it for $7,200 because the math actually makes sense there. And I said, you know what? It's Nicsmas. I'll do it for half of that. Well, so I'll do it for half of that. So every single day, I'm going to hit you with free stuff. I'm going to hit you with a ton of value. And it's because I want to put out as much goodwill as possible to the 84 of you or the 82 of you that do not take me up on it. And bribe 4 of you to spend a day with me. Okay. $3,600 for the day. That's the deal. So that's why I'm doing this. That's Inception marketing. You do stuff. You be completely transparent about why you do it. Unfortunately, my camera doesn't work. And if you want one of these spots, I'm going to make this offer every day for 12 days. When the spots are gone, they're gone. I'm going to teach my face off and give away a bunch of free stuff in the process. So show up every day because you're just going to walk away with a bunch of goods. If you're interested in that, just shoot me a message. We'll handle it. We'll take care of it. The other edition here. If I like you, if you fit, if you're not competitive with one of my private clients, I will also throw in an event ticket, which means you can come sit with me and my private clients at our private events. If we were to start from scratch, let me get to Q&A in a minute. So that's 12 days of Nicsmas. Show up. The more you participate live, I will answer your questions. I'm going to set aside 2 hours every time I'm live, maybe 35, 40 minutes of teaching perspective. I'm going to share all my swipe files. And then I'm going to go for Q&A. Anything you need custom, you want help with something, let me know. But really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bribe you so we can spend 4, 5, 6 hours together and really get to the bottom of everything I'm teaching and what it means for you. That being said, Q&A. We're going to get started tomorrow. Again, we got 13 days of Christmas, technically. Question here, if you were to start from scratch with a low 6-figure business, with the info you are giving us, what results would you expect to see in 90 days? It depends, right? That's the worst answer. This is why I do office days, because the truth is it depends. It depends on what you're exploring and what you're exploiting. What's the short game? What's the long game? It depends on how many clients you have. It depends on if you want to pivot or if you simply want to scale what you're doing. These are conversations that people don't have with themselves. It depends on, again, Laurel. So for example, I'll pick on Laurel again. Laurel has a $7 a month membership, and everybody on the planet that she talked to is in exploit mode, which is the short game. Said, stop charging $7 a month. You need to charge high ticket. She would have made more money in the short term and then would have hit a pretty hard wall. And what we did instead was, based on her goals, based on her aspirations, based on her necessary living costs and her priorities, we actually kept running the $7 deal. It did really, really, really well for her. And now she's looking at a much bigger, much bigger win later on. But that was only possible because her costs of doing business and her living costs were already covered. So the answer is depends. If you're already in low six figures, I would expect to, if you really implemented and really understood, I would look at close to, Allenbert is a good example. I did, I think 520,000 last year, and he's on pace for 1.2 million this year. I would not be surprised to see close to double the business, but it depends on the nature of the business. It depends on the fulfillment. It depends on quite a few things. Nutrition, engine. You already get referrals. That's good. But you probably have less potential growth than if you don't, simply because it's such a low-hanging fruit. So if you don't get referrals, just engineering those is a massive growth channel. If you don't have reviews, stuff like that. Adam, if you tell me what you do, I can give you a more precise answer potentially. IT services, local. Yeah, so local, if you implement, significant growth, probably not double. It depends on capacity. But brick and mortar will typically pay about 36 to 65 grand a year to work with us. And get a massive return on it. It pays for itself many times over. So I would say, and I'm going to share a lot of that stuff with you, specifically retention referrals, raving fans, a lot of the local review stuff, 5-star reviews, stuff like that. I would expect if you're doing $200,000, add $70,000 to $100,000 a year pretty easily. Question: what should my bribe be? Planning my 12 days starting Christmas Day. The bribe, so invert, okay, that's top down. You don't figure out what the bribe is, you figure out what you want to sell. So do you do joint ventures? Sometimes. Practitioner's ethos. I don't joint venture with somebody unless I use their product or their that's about it, really. I have quite a few joint ventures. Most of them turn into full-blown partnerships. So back to the bribe. I love JVs, by the way. I think joint ventures are the best way to scale a business if you're a service provider. Back to the bribe. What should your bribe be? Step one is, what is the thing you want to sell? So for me, it's office days. I guess I should say my high ticket offer or higher ticket. The bribe and what you want to sell are two different things. So if you want to sell, again, what you should sell depends on what you want. It's preference based. What is the thing that you want to sell? Right. And the question is, what should my bribe be? Should it be high ticket or higher ticket? What do you want to sell and why? Okay. So I have an announcement. I forgot to tell you guys this. I'll tell you guys this now. I'm pivoting my entire platform off of Facebook. Okay. Which is crazy because y'all kind of found me on Facebook, right? Putting my entire platform off of Facebook. So a lot of the 12 days of Nicsmas, a lot of the office days, everything I'm doing is to continue to move my platform off of Facebook. So my bribe is giving away all of the things that I possibly can. I'm going to take a little bit of a loss, and that's fine. But the end goal is I want more people following me and engage with me off of Facebook. So throughout this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to my direct mail newsletter. I'm going to introduce you to my email newsletter. I'm going to introduce you to my blog, and I'm going to try to get you to office days. And that's pretty much the only way to get in touch with me. It positions me appropriately for where I'm at right now. So back to the question, what is the thing? Like, we're not bribing to make the most money. We're bribing to achieve the end goal that we should have written down when we talked about our goals and priorities. So one of my goals and priorities is to be completely off of Facebook as a marketing channel by the end of January. Okay, so all of the bribes that I'm giving right now are designed in a way, I'm giving away a bunch of stuff. I'm going to push you to my YouTube channel. I'm going to push you to my email list. I'm going to make a bribe to get on my direct mail newsletter, right? And I'm using my most valuable thing as a thing I'm selling. So the most valuable thing that I have is my time and my attention. So the most valuable thing I can offer is an office day. Again, somebody just paid 65 grand for one. But they typically, we stick around 5 to 10 grand, depending on what's going on. So I basically took the highest value thing, which is an office day. And now I'm going to find a million ways to bribe people to the high value thing, which should be pretty obvious. Should be pretty simple, right? Like, I'm going to give you tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of free stuff, plus an office day. But the end goal is to get them, which is you guys, to get you guys where I want you if you choose to continue to stay in my ecosystem. Does that make sense? Laurel says, I get what you're saying. So decide what the end game is, what the long-term goal is, right? And so let's say the long-term goal is to get more people in your agency, and everybody that goes through this course enrolls in your agency. Then I would make 1 million bribes, or 12 in this case, to get people into that course. Right? You don't have a fixed rate for an office day. I do have, but it's tiered, right? So if you're doing 5 million or more, generally speaking, it's a little more in depth. So just straight up, the two rates are $5K and $9,800. And $9,800 if you're doing more than 5 million. The $65K requested specifically just my time for an entire day, just for himself, and I have to review a bunch of stuff beforehand. We're talking about a $1.2 billion company. So that was a custom day, a little bit different. But generally speaking, it's just 2. It's where you at? Cool. If they're under 5 million in sales, it's $5K for the day. I know they're going to make it back, but probably while they're sitting here. And if they're between 5 and 10 or over 10, it's $9,800 for the day. But it's just because the amount of work and follow up. And when you come in, I don't just sit here and consult. We actually build stuff. So I'll actually write the emails. I'll actually script the videos. I will set the pixels, right? And audit their ads managers, because our whole ads team is on site here at the office. And so when you're looking at a $5 million business or $10 million business with 3 partners and 11 employees, it just takes more time. It's a little more in depth. Do you help people starting from zero? Yes. Mostly with free content. The issue with people starting at zero is that I can make if I make a little tweak and increase revenue by 10%, and you're doing, 100 grand a month, I just added 120 grand a year. If you're doing 10 grand a month, I just added $12 a year. So it's relative, and I don't exploit. And what exploitation means is I don't push to make as much money as possible at any given time, because the more you exploit, the shorter lifespan you have. It's a way for the client to self-select. Yep. I'm going to, and I'll share this with you. I'll share this process. Adam says it's a way for clients to self-select. If they use your material you give away, you want to work with them. Yep. If they don't, they're the type of person you want to work with anyway. Exactly. Anybody that's actually really good at what they do can build a positioning where their ideal clients raise their hand and come to them. Facebook ad, a paying-based Facebook ad to webinar, it hurts more people than it helps if they're actually good at what they do for that reason. So, yeah, and part of my positioning, Adam, to be transparent, part of my positioning off of Facebook and to a paid newsletter and office days is people have to self-select, and it's a little bit like they really have to have an intent. I say that again, a pain-based Facebook ad or a pain-based direct mail ad or whatever is not the best way for somebody that is actually good at what they do, in my opinion, to pick out their clients. Very, very big difference. Yeah. I mean, if you want to market and sell, understand that if you want to market and sell based on pain, you're going to attract people in pain. And the psychology of that relationship is not great. And when you build a bunch of relationships that start off on the wrong foot, the longevity is, you don't have a very good chance of doing it for very long. Yeah. I don't work with pain-based people. So when Michelle asked, do you help people starting from zero? The answer is it depends, but that's a big, if you need to achieve something by XYZ date, otherwise your world is going to fall apart, I probably don't take you as a client. And a lot of people starting at zero are very much in a rush, and it's not a sustainable way to build a business being in a rush. Not impossible, but if I have capacity to take 10 clients and I have 10 that have a year and $1 million in runway and 10 that need money tomorrow or they lose their house, obviously I would take the former. At some point you have to pick opportunity cost. Hopefully that makes sense. Any other questions? I'll break all this down. I'll explain how I'm doing it. The process for attracting people, getting them in without sales calls. I don't do sales calls. Our revenue, it's a interesting paradigm shift, because any internet marketer that looked at our revenue would be like, they would think I had a sales team of like 50 people. The reality is it's just not necessary. If pain-based is bad, how do you reach those who don't know they are in pain? There's an awareness. I'm sure you're familiar. If they don't know they're in pain, then pain-based marketing wouldn't work anyway, right? There's problem aware, solution aware, product aware. I think there's actually 5, but those are the 3. If it's pain-based, how bad do you reach? So here's the thing with marketing. Here's why some people think I'm like the best marketer they've ever met, and other people that come sit here just think I'm a horrible marketer because I don't write pain-based ads. I spend a lot of time with people. I spend a ton of time with people. So this is for Zach. How do you reach those who don't know they're in pain? You talk to them. and you figure out what language they're using. What do they think the problem is? What are their aspirations? Like, just talk. I talk to an obnoxious amount of people from a multitude of socioeconomic backgrounds and education. It's really important. And another reason why pain-based marketing doesn't work really well, or just direct response ads, the way they're taught, is that nobody's actually done research. They like fill out an avatar sheet. The reason I was so good in the industries I've been in, and again, people are like, whoa, you're an amazing marketer, but then they see me do it and they think I'm a horrible marketer, is because I spent thousands of hours talking to thousands of people trying to not be right, not get them to buy stuff, but figure out what they needed to hear in order for them to change their behavior in a way that was efficacious to them. Okay, so that's a long-winded way of saying, like, don't make up your ad copy. Go talk to people. And the truth is, you don't need to run ads. You don't need to run ads. I had 300 members in RD before I ever ran an ad. So, I'm not saying advertising is bad. Laurel is a great example of somebody that knows how to take all the concepts I'm teaching and turning them into ads. And you can go harass her, or you can wait until like Friday. I think Friday, she's a special guest for Nicsmas. Do you host masterminds? Yes. My private clients. So my private clients get one-on-one with me. They get access to my team. And 4 times a year, we get together here in California. The next one is on January 17th. And if you take me up on my bribe for an office day, I might give you a ticket to sit in with all of my private clients and participate and learn a lot. They're really, really cool. So that's the short answer. I have 4 spots for the office day at that price. And I have 5 total spots. One's already taken for sitting into the mastermind as a guest. Do it. Being this mastermind is the best decision I ever made in my business. Laurel's selling you on my mastermind. When you're writing a book, I did. Bumpersbook.com. The problem with the book, or the reason I struggle with the book, is because so many things are preference based that I get. The way I would answer a question, the way I answer a question that Laurel asked me might be different than the way I answer a question you ask me, because I'm more concerned. My background is cognitive behavior therapy. So I'm more concerned about saying the thing that gets you to take the behavior that makes your life better than I am about saying the thing that is technically correct. And when you write a book, people are very concerned about you being technically correct. And I don't care about being technically correct. So it's probably why I won't have any significant books. Bumpersbook.com. Bumpersbook.com. $7. That's the one. That's the most recent one that I wrote. How often is it okay for preferences to change? Preference based. It depends. You can change them every day if you want. Here's a sliding scale, in my opinion. The sliding scale is being aware. If your preference changes every day, which it doesn't, I know, but then you don't have a right to be attached to the outcome, because time is a thing, right? Like, working towards something over a long period of time is a thing. And so you could change your preference every day. Sometimes I do, based on certain things. The trick is I pivot businesses all the time, right? Like, nobody even knows what I do anymore. And we got 6 or 7 different companies running out of this office. And that's okay, because I don't complain, right? So I think the more often you pivot, and the more, like, it's okay to not do things a certain way, as long as you're okay with the consequences and you don't complain. You can absolutely choose to change. I no longer want this thing. But then you forfeit the right to complain that you don't have the new thing you want because you just pivoted 12 seconds ago. I think it's dangerous to hang on to preferences just because they were preferences at one point. It's very much how much can you attach from the outcome is a question. Can you please explain your experience / take on cognitive behavior, and is that what you train your clients on? No, I don't train my clients on anything. They're not dogs. Cognitive behavior therapy is essentially identifying the intention intervention gap, or what Dan Nicholson calls espoused values versus values in action. Most of you know what to do, and you're not doing it. And so the best I could do is not tell you more things to do. It's to eliminate the gap between what you know you should do and what you're actually doing. So a lot of the things that I talk about, it's a language, it's a set of exercises, it's custom to each person. But the idea is we can't gauge the efficacy of your plan if you are not actually doing the plan. So people will say like, well, this plan doesn't work. Well, you're not doing it. So how do we bridge the gap between what you're supposed to do and what you actually do? Only once you've bridged that gap can we gauge the efficacy of the plan, and then we change the plan and we make sure that that gap doesn't get too wide again. So hopefully that makes sense. It's basically actually doing the things that we plan on doing so that we can gauge how effective those things actually are. What most people do is like, I'm going to go on this diet. And then for 5 days out of the week, they're on the diet. And 2 days out of the week, they eat like a-holes. They say the diet doesn't work, but the reality is you don't have a right to gauge the efficacy of the diet if your behavior is not 100% on point. How do you distinguish things like this where you give away info versus helping someone out by discounting? I'm trying to think of the best way to frame this. It doesn't really matter. I own a business. I can do whatever I want. It's really important. Nothing wrong with helping somebody out by discounting. You have to realize there's a cause and effect, right? And so people will say like, never help somebody for free, never discount your product. That's fine. They obviously don't know my long-term plan. Really, really important. You also have to decide, am I more interested in impacting a bunch of people, or am I more interested in making a bunch of money? They're not mutually exclusive, but one comes before the other, and you have to prioritize. Right. So for me personally, I want to help as many people as possible. And I can build my schedule in a way that allows me to do that. So for the next 12 days, my schedule is just a little bit different than it was. I can't do this all year round. I don't want to do this all year round. But it was kind of fun last year. I decided to do it again. I find clarity and consistent behavior is the most challenging. Yep. And you can't really get clarity until you have consistent behavior. Right? So the plan doesn't have to change. Until your behavior 100% matches the plan shouldn't change. Your behavior should. And the reality is there's no clarity comes from experience. And it's really hard to get clarity on whether or not this thing worked if you didn't actually follow the instructions. So consistency in behavior is really the only thing. Now, it's also really important to note, and we'll talk about this a little bit, it doesn't have to be a grind. Like instead of saying, I'm going to work out every single day for 7 days and failing, just decide to work out decide to work out 3 days a week. That's your consistent behavior. So you can bridge the gap by moving either side. You don't have to like, the problem is we make a plan that we can't actually follow. So just change the plan once to be something you can actually follow to get the clarity to figure out what the next step should be. Right. This is why I love office days. We just dig deep on these things. Adam, hopefully that was helpful. There's nothing wrong with giving away information. There's nothing wrong with helping somebody out by discounting. Discounts, you always just think about the consequences, right? If you discount a service ongoing, I'll always discount a front end thing. But you got to be careful discounting services ongoing, right? Because that can add up. That can be a drain over time. That makes so much sense. Yeah, that's cognitive behavior therapy. It really is. It's just look at the plan, look at the behavior, figure out which one needs to change, and then repeat until the plan and the behavior are 100% identical. And then we can actually gauge how effective that plan is. And then we can modify the plan, and our behavior should modify with it, which might take some time. And then once they're 100% aligned again, we modify the plan again. But most people just keep changing the plan on paper. They never change their behavior. They just keep changing the fucking plan. It'll be fun. I'm going to teach a lot of, I'm going to teach you guys how to make a bunch of money, which will be cool. I just wanted this foundation of like, how do we get the most out of this? It's not consuming more information. I'm going to give you some cool stuff, some actionable stuff, but it's not just consuming more information. So be aware of that. Give room or give time for another question or two, and then we'll get out of here. I'll get you this replay. This replay will be available for about 24 hours, and then it's going to disappear into the nethers of the interwebs. All right, anything else you need, you can message me on Facebook, shoot me an email, whatever you need. We're going to hit it tomorrow, and I'm going to give you stuff tomorrow, and I want you to do it, and I want you to immediately make a sale tomorrow after we do this. I'm going to give you what you need to pop in, make some money, and then we're going to go back to playing your game, Unique Disposition, and then we're going to go back to making sales. It'll be fun.